Well, good morning, listeners. This is Susan Santiago, and welcome to another Thursday morning of Pieces of Peace. Let's see. I have a wonderful guest here. Set Them Free. No Moms and Babies Behind Bars in Turkey is an organization whose mission is to raise the awareness of thousands of women and babies who have been arbitrarily jailed in Turkey. When exactly did Set Them Free begin? And also, could you tell us about the situation that led to women and kids being jailed in Turkey?
Oh, sure, Susan. The Set Them Free project started about 4 months ago as a group of women in the United States and Canada. Because of the situation, we decided to get together and join our efforts to initiate the project. The purpose is to raise awareness on the issue of thousands of women. According to the reports, it is approximately 18,000 women and 668 children are arbitrarily detained in Turkish prisons as of now. Of course, the real numbers are more than that. So the general situation in Turkey deteriorated tremendously in recent years. Turkey has already started experiencing a sharp decline in almost all democratic indicators like the rights of women and children, civil, economic and social rights, freedom of expression and media, free and fair elections, government accountability and corruption. These kind of things increased tremendously. And the crackdown has systematically increased after the failed coup attempt. In July 15, 2016, factions within the military launched a violent coup attempt in Turkey. And although it was quickly suppressed in part by ordinary people taking to the streets, the authorities announced the death toll to be 237 people, including the coup plotters. About 34 coup plotters were also dead, and 2,000 people injured on the same night. Within hours of the coup, the president blamed the plot on a civil society movement. It is called the Gülen movement, and immediately he announced the movement as a terrorist organization. Although there was there was no evidence, there was a lack of evidence. And the founding figure of the movement, Mr. Gülen, flatly and strongly denied any allegations right after the coup. I don't know if the listeners are familiar with the Gülen figure. He has been a very popular figure recently in the United States media too. He lives in Pennsylvania. He's a Pennsylvania resident. He lives in seclusion, a 78-year-old scholar in Pocono Mountains for almost 2 decades. He hasn't been to Turkey for that long either. And following the coup attempt, there was a state of emergency announced by the government for 3 months. However, it has been they have been extending it to this day. As a result, nearly 150,000 civil servants, including teachers, police officers, military officials, doctors, judges, journalists, prosecutors were dismissed from their position on the grounds of links to a terrorist organization and threat to national security. And there was no clear route in law to appeal these decisions. And around 61,000 people have been arrested. These numbers are according to November 3rd data. There is a website called turkeypurge.com, which listeners can access to updated data on a weekly basis as far as I know. And people are still being arrested, and for very weird reasons. For instance, downloading a smartphone application called Buy Lock is a crime. And there was an article in Huffington Post. One of the writers, Mahir Zeynalov, resembles the situation to a scenario. He says, think about somebody coming to your door and putting you in a police van and driving away. And after some torture, when you are brought before a judge who asks you about an iPhone application, let's say called Telegram, that you downloaded 2 years ago, maybe you used it for once or twice or never. And the reason is because ISIS militants use the very same applications to communicate among themselves, let's say. It is a very similar situation that many people are going through this scenario for real in Turkey right now. This application is called Bayrak. It's a free application. It was available in iPhone application stores. And downloading Bayrak is a sign that you belong to that cult who secretly communicates through this application among themselves. Another reason for arrest is a dollar bill phenomenon. It deserves some explanation, I guess. Carrying a $1 bill is evidence that the person is involved with the Gülen movement or CIA. And the serial number on the bill serves as the membership number for Gülen followers. Actually, a week after the coup, there was an American citizen working for NASA in Houston. He was accidentally visiting his family in Hatay, Turkey, and he was arrested 1 week after the coup, actually, when he was coming back to U.S. at the airport. And the reason was they found a dollar bill in his relative's home. And he is still in jail, actually.
And this is an American citizen.
Dual citizenship, actually. Turkey does not recognize dual citizenship, so he is considered as an exclusive Turkish citizen.
And he was working for NASA in Houston.
Yes, unfortunately. It's been more than a year, and he's in jail in Hatay. There is also another article of an American citizen. Another American citizen was put in jail for another reason in Turkey. And he was next to in the jail, he was next to his cell, so he communicated, and he wrote an article about him. Also, working in a movement-affiliated institution on its own, like a school, hospital, you name it. It's a reason to be in prison. And even housewives are being jailed for throwing a bake sale, let's say, for the purpose of supporting university students or homeless people or something of that sort.
And are all of these people, Nihal, connected with the Hizmet movement?
They are allegedly connected.
Allegedly.
There were all these institutions were legal. For example, there was a bank called Bankasya. It was functioning legally, and an artist was using this bank to make some transactions to pay his rent or something, and he was jailed for that reason.
So, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead, Susan.
No, I was just going to say, just so our listeners know what Nihal, as she explained about Fethullah Gulen, has pretty much sought asylum in Pennsylvania. He started the Hizmet movement in the 60s, which Hizmet is Turkish for service. Service,
right.
Yes.
Service.
And it's
also known as Gülen movement, Susan.
The Gülen. Oh, yes. And if any of our listeners, I would just want to get this in very quickly, would like to know more about this beautiful, amazing movement, which Erdogan is suppressing by jailing people who belong. And it does include, doesn't it, Nihal, professors, lawyers, 501c3 nonprofits that are doing service.
Exactly.
In university professors, it's
exactly.
But I did want to mention very quickly that there is a documentary that came out 2 years ago called Love is a Verb. If any of our listeners want to learn more about Fethullah Gulen and the Hizmet movement, it was Time Magazine named Mr. Gulen as one of the most influential leaders in the world in 2013. Quote, preaching a message of tolerance. And if you want to learn more, this documentary is amazing. We'll show you the service that the Turkish people have been performing for years as a result of this amazing movement. And I won't go into a political thing, but Michael Flynn, it's alleged that he did that $500,000 that he was involved with was Turkish, is why he had to resign with the Turkish government, was that he had something to do with getting Fethullah Gulen back to Turkey. And I don't want to get political, but there is for Erdogan. They would probably execute him, wouldn't they, Nihal, if he went back?
Yeah, God forbid.
Yeah, exactly.
God forbid.
But go ahead.
To give you some data, as of November 3rd, as I said, 187 media outlets were shut down. 305 journalists are in jail, and over 3,000 educational institutions and dormitories have been closed already. And 8,600 academics lost their jobs. And for example, Amnesty Turkey director İdil Eser was among 10 human rights defenders. They were detained while they were attending a human rights workshop in July. And Amnesty International Turkey chair Taner Kılıç has been in prison. He has been arrested since June 6th, to give you some idea.
Some idea of what's happening. And Vedana, thank you for joining us. And could you share some stories about individuals, including children, who have also been jailed in Turkey?
Yeah, so there are several individuals that I recently met that are currently in the U.S. and all their stories. There are many stories that we can tell now, but one that I think stuck with me, and I think I'll have Nihal talk about this one, about a young boy that she actually shared the story with me only a few days ago. It's one of the recent stories. So Nihal, feel free to take on and tell that story.
Sure. Actually, the grandmother is local to the area, Susan. There was
to the Bay Area, right?
To the Bay Area. Yes.
Wonderful.
Grandmother and grandfather lived in the Bay Area, so that's how I know the story, even before it was published in the newspapers. There is a 13-year-old boy called Eray, and his father was a police officer in Turkey, but because of his alleged links to the Gülen movement, he has been detained and he has been arrested. The boy went through a lot of bullying because of the social pressure. This is how life is going on for these type of people in Turkey, unfortunately. And he was sick for a while. The mother took him to all the doctors for about 2 months. High fever, loss of appetite and everything. The doctors sent them back saying everything is okay. Poor woman decided to take him to Istanbul and to a university hospital, and the boy was diagnosed with lymphoma. The woman moved to Istanbul, and they asked for government funding, and the person who she applied said that there is no wailing wall, so they didn't provide any funding for the sick boy. And they are still going through chemotherapy. The boy did not respond well to the chemotherapy, and their life is in torture right now, unfortunately. This is one of the stories that I shared with Vedrana.
And if any of our listeners would like to learn more about Set Them Free, your wonderful organization, which is, by the way, isn't it becoming international?
Actually, it is. It started all over in the United States and Canada as of now, but it looks like it is going to spread further. It's an online platform launched by several dialogue organizations in the United States. The whole purpose is to raise awareness, and the platform aims to mold public opinion that will enforce the state of Turkey to improve the inhumane conditions in jail, and encourage the policy of being released by the court pending trial for mothers. the project got accelerated on November 4th last Saturday. We organized black balloon giveaway events in 15 different locations in the United States and Canada, Susan, to demand the freedom of innocent children and women. And also,
and where did you? I'm sorry, Nihal, interrupting. But the black.
That there is less time.
Yeah, sure. There's a little bit of noise in the background too that we're picking up. But the black balloon event was actually, like you said, it was in major cities around the country, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In 15 different locations. In the North California, San Francisco, Berkeley, Palo Alto, Santana Row. In South California, Orange County, Los Angeles, San Diego. Up in North Seattle were some of the locations on the West Coast, for example.
Beautiful.
We initiated a mobile exhibit, Susan. It is called What I Brought in My Luggage. It already took place in few locations in Silicon Valley and Chicago. The aim is, since there are many refugees coming to U.S. fleeing Turkey, we asked them to send us a picture of an item that they chose to bring in their limited luggage space, and some description or story of the item. For example, somebody brought the soil and water of Ankara in Turkey.
Oh, beautiful.
It was very emotional.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is that. Yeah, I had read about that also. That was a mini exhibit. Yeah, how wonderful. Do you think we'll get it here in San Francisco?
We are going to have another show on November 15th, and we are more than happy to move it around. San Francisco is one of the major locations, of course.
Yes, and that is called What I Brought in My Luggage. And it's the refugees from Turkey who have been able to get out before they were jailed or their family members were jailed. Have you been back, Nihal, recently to Turkey?
No, I haven't been back after the coup attempt, unfortunately.
You do have family there. You and Verdrana also, right? You both have family in Turkey.
I have my mom and dad and my brother, my only brother. But how about Verdrana?
Yeah, I do not have family there. I had a lot of friends when I lived in Istanbul that I met and I became very close with, and I hear a lot of this from them from their perspective. Being there in Turkey, they were able to share a lot of stories, personal stories with me, and it's just very tragic, them as well as their families that are going through this, and which is the reason about going back a little bit about our Set Them Free balloon event. It was basically to just kind of bring awareness to people in our communities here locally. I've noticed within my group of friends who have not lived in Turkey, who do not have friends in Turkey, they are not aware of what is going on there, just because, as Nihal mentioned earlier, the media being shut down and it's not being exposed enough in the United States in our communities. And so our goal is just to start with our own communities, spread the word, and then thankfully we had 15 different locations throughout the United States and Canada that were able to do the same. And we'll continue doing this exhibitions and more balloon events and just bringing awareness.
Wonderful.
That's what we're trying to do.
That's wonderful. And again, if our listeners would like to learn more about the Set Them Free, No Moms and Babies Behind Bars in Turkey, maybe donate, come to some of the events, especially this wonderful one that you're going to be having November 15th, What I Brought in My Luggage. Where is that event going to be held?
It is going to be in one of the Pacifica locations, Silicon Valley Pacifica Institute location.
Okay.
Susan?
Yeah, very good. And if you let me know, Nihal, I'll be able to announce it on the radio. We can do an announcement for that so our listeners will know about that.
Oh, sure. Wonderful.
Sure.
I will let you know.
And what is the website that they should go to, Nihal?
It is setthemfree.com with one T. SETHEMFREE.com, Susan.
.com, very good. And
I also have a Twitter account. It is @SetThemFreePR, again with 1 T. And we call on everybody to support us through social media if they can.
Yes, and you're on Facebook, right?
We are on Facebook too. We are working on accelerating the Facebook account activity. And we are publishing the stories of women under purge at our website as a blog entry, and I'm sure listeners will enjoy reading to these individual stories. They are very moving. And also for more information, they can contact the email address, which is setthemfreetr@gmail.com, again with 1 T.
With 1 T, SETHEM, 1 T, themfree.com.
Free TR.
Yeah, TR,
Free
setthemfreetr.com.
Yes.
Is that
and
right?
Also, anybody could write letters to their elected officials to express their concerns. And also, it would be nice if they can reach out to their local Amnesty International boards and UNA boards, Human Rights Watch boards. These are the ones that come to my mind, actually.
Excellent. Nihal and Vedrana, excuse me, I'd love to have you both back, and maybe we would have more time to see how things are progressing or not in Turkey. And also, I'm sure they will be progressing with your organization, Set Them Free. I would love to have more time to talk to you both about some of the things that are occurring there, some of the things that are happening, maybe even intertwined with our own political situation, our own political situation. So thank you both so very much, and you're doing wonderful work, and I wish you the very, very best of luck in pursuing this amazing cause, Set Them Free. No moms and babies behind bars in Turkey. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you as well. Thank you so much for having us and letting us spread the word even more. We very much appreciate all the help that we can get. And again, if any of the listeners are interested and want to get involved, you can contact us via email. And there's a lot more stories on our website if anyone is interested to hear, and any ideas, any resources that you can think of, we're very open and welcome to it all.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Nihal. Thank you, Vedrana.
It's great to be here, and I wish a happy Thanksgiving to all the listeners and you. And I hope the world evolves into a better one for those innocent lives in Turkish prisons as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you both, and happy Thanksgiving to both of you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Bye.